Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Reads Spider-Man Crawl Space Edition. Please check us out at the SpiderManCrawlspace.com. Well, everyone, I've been gone for quite a while. Had a lot going on between the end of the school year and some other family situations, so it's good to be back here to review. So I've decided to go ahead and review all of King's Ransoms, the goods, the bad, the kind of ugly, and where are we going from here now that we've had all the conclusion here with issue 66, aka Amazing Spider-Man 867. So let's get into the pros. First of all, it is good because Nick Spencer started the major storyline with the Lifeline tablet and everything with the Kingpin and Boomerang since Free Comic Book Day, which is hard to believe was 3 years ago. There's a lot here because this has been a great journey between with Fred Myers as Boomerang, as he actually did try to be a better person. But however, as we learned in Superior Foes, which Spencer also wrote, Fred does do what is best for Fred, whether that means backstabbing people, getting the hot date, lying, trying to be a better person, actually genuinely caring about people like Randy and Peter, but at the same time in the long run, he wants to worry about himself, and that's always been his character. He's been very selfish. The one thing about this storyline is it's not really been about Peter or even Randy and Janice Lincoln or some of the area thing. It's really been about Fred's journey in this entire storyline, and it's really interesting to get into the head of him. That's something that Spencer did several years ago when he put him in Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which he was also the writer. And I did feel very bad for Fred because in the end he does regret what he did, but at the same time, as we've learned, he will probably get over it in some sense of the word, and how he actually gets back in with several of the supervillains of the New York Community villain, but at the same time he is still on the outs with other several characters, including the Kingpin and of course other members of the Maggie and other underworld supervillains. So it's really a cool little story here because you do feel very bad in the end for Fred and everything he went through, and you really do feel bad for Peter in the long run because in the same one he really did hope he would trade. Another great pro is everything that was done with Randy and Janice Lincoln, because it really does show a lot of what was done with their characters. We understand why they got together, why they were in secret, really what the relationship was about. The whole little dynamic between Tombstone and Randy Robertson was really well done between the lifelong enemies who, of course, children did fall in love. And, of course, he understands the situation, but at the same time he also had a situation where he could have stepped in and done more areas, or the fact that Randy could have actually stepped in and talked about things earlier in life and actually how he is a little naive in a lot of his stuff, but at the same time he was looking for the better stuff of everything. Same thing with Janice. She isn't really like her father. She does have a bit of a conscience. She sees everything with organized crime that as a business model, and the fact that she's actually a licensed criminal defense lawyer also adds an interesting wrinkle. But at the same time, you really wonder how this relationship is going to work between Tombstone and Robbie, as well as Janice and Randy. And it's a very interesting story that kind of leads everything in a more natural sense and actually gives more of an impact of what we wanted to see with that relationship going forward, as well as how that's going to work if Randy really can handle the supervillain life after being kidnapped and almost tortured, but yet saved by this new Sinister Syndicate that's under, of course, Janice's lead. So it's going to be very interesting how that goes. And of course, the big revelation, of course, with the Rose's resurrection, that Richard Fisk is now back and alive and well. And I think that was an interesting ploy because in a way we kept thinking Vanessa was in on this, but knowing Spencer, we knew there was going to be something that was pulled out of the rug. And when it was all said and done, the fact that the Kingpin wanted to bring his son back, because after all, Vanessa did sadly kill him after he was betrayed by his son, and the fact that everything has been going on with the Kingpin. So it's actually a really interesting twist, and I'm very interested to see where it's going to go with the Rose, as well as now Spider-Man and the Street Avengers such as Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the rest, wondering what this is going to do now, because it's going to really change things up with the criminal underworld, as well as the connections with the mayor's office through Fisk, as also what's going on in the current Daredevil book too with the Kingpin. So you know what, it's really well done, and those storylines really worked out well. Going to the cons. Well, first of all, it's great to finally get this storyline technically over, and yet the next part's going on, even though I kind of felt that everything that happened with Fred made sense and was kind of backing. But the same thing is, Kindred's still been going on. The storyline's been going on in the background, kind of took a backdrop, and now, of course, Harry Osborn has, of course, turned things around. Also, the fact that we're getting some other areas, too, with the fact that now with the Sinister War coming up, that there's something involved with, once again, Mephisto, we don't know what's going on because we've been left with that cliffhanger for a couple months now when Doctor Strange went to talk to Mephisto, and of course the fact that apparently Harry has been planning this. Even the bigger revelation: not only is Carly Cooper alive, but there is another Harry Osborn, Harry Lehrman, as we know too, which is starting to wonder: is this Harry a clone? Are they both Harry Osborn? We don't know. There's a lot more mystery here, but at the same time, it's dragged out the kindred mystery and why he's so mad at Peter a lot more. Also, we have some very other interesting things too. Everything that happened with Threats and Menaces, even with the chameleon conspiracy starting off here in the next week. Jonah Jameson, as much as he tries to be helpful, he falls back on thing. I mean, the Threats and Menaces pro slayers, oh yeah, because the Spider Slayers have worked so well in the past, Jonah. Remember those other ones he did with Alchemex when the Superior Spider-Man was going? Boy, let's make our own version. Oh, whoops, I destroyed private property. There goes the money. Oh, let's go to Nora Winters. Oh, I'm doing all this stuff. The chameleon's actually secretly conspiracy things. And oh, look, the suit actually was tracing supervillains as well as data information. We always complain about how private your phones are, like the one that's recording me right now. But at the same time, I've always said, people want to spy. I mean, go right ahead. Very boring life. But for Peter, as well as and everything with Jonah Jameson, there's a lot of good information that's now being thrown down to the bad guys. And as we know, the chameleon's in on all that. So we're kind of seeing how Jonah is kind of falling back and is, after I gave everything to Peter, and then he gives all his money away to the feast center and blah, blah, blah. Well, then I'll make my own hero. Spider-Man. Some things just never change, no matter how much you try. And it feels like it was a step forward for Jonah. Now we're back over to the more issues, too, and all those backgrounds. And it's the beginning of all other subplots. Now, after all this thing, now we're going to get to the chameleon storyline going on. So I feel like it was a big thing with everything here, with the King's Ransom and actually having some story conclusions with Fred. And, of course, with Janice and Randy, and, of course, Peter now being having no roommates, a homelessing, gives all his money away to the feast center and the homely, versus maybe he should give some money away and then keep a little money to go find an apartment on his own and probably, keep that on too. But now that's all gone because Peter's now reset. And, of course, Mary Jane's now back in the picture with Overdrive, trying to figure out what happened to Carly and everything. But I think the biggest shocker of all this, when it's all done, guys, Betty Brant is pregnant. Very advanced pregnant. Flash Thompson has recently come back from the dead. Peter has been ignoring Betty since issue 3 of Spencer's run, and all of a sudden it's, what? Oh, Betty, you didn't tell me anything. Oh, wait, here's 6 more messages from Betty. I better ignore them. La, 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 la. Ooh, la, 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 la. And now we're getting to the storyline 2.5 years later. Yeah, I think there's a lot wrong with that, too. So, I mean, as much as it's a shock, too, it's a good storyline. Everything's gone warp, but I'm going to give it an overall B+ for my grade. I really enjoy, I think all the artwork everywhere from Vanelli to Casallo to Bagley was fantastic. The art was great. The action scenes were great. The emotional story was. Some of the payoffs were actually pretty cool and kind of twisted, which made sense. But once again, Kindred's still dragging on in the background. Now Betty's back, pregnant, and ready to apparently have a kid. Flash is back from the dead in secret, thanks to what happened in King in Black and a couple other things. So let's hope we're going to start moving here once now the chameleon conspiracy is over and the Sinister War starts here in the next couple of weeks. So B+ for me for the whole storyline. I really enjoyed a lot of it, but there's a lot of it I'm just like, oh, come on. Can't this just end? Can't we move on? Ugh. Anyhow, well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a review and have had a lot of fun with it, as I hope I have too. I'll be back next time to talk about the chameleon conspiracy, and I'll have the big King in Black conclusion with the storyline and Venom 200, and a little bit more about Flash Thompson's resurrection and with the upcoming Extreme Carnage. So for more, guys, please check us out at the SpidermanCrawlspace.com. Please check out our social media, leave us a message, check us out on Discord, and of course, give us a like if you enjoy these videos. And on that note, guys, I'm out of here. I hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend.